How's it guys? Peter here. Welcome to my third video in this investment series where I give you a complete transparent breakdown of where exactly I invest my money every single month. I started the series all the way back in May 2022 in order to try and show you guys a real life case study example of how somebody could go about constructing their own investment portfolio, with the hope that some of you guys might learn a thing or two and to somewhat inspire you to start your own investment journey if you haven't yet already. Just note that I am by no means an expert. I'm a veterinarian, not a financial advisor nor an asset manager. So all of the decisions that I share in this video are based on my own opinions and are not necessarily the best choices for you. So take what you can from this video, but always remember to do your own research and do not blindly follow some random dude on the internet who makes YouTube videos in his mother's living room on Sunday evenings. So with that out of the way, let's get into this video. Now I'll start off to say that I'm really glad to see that some of my accounts are finally back in the green again. Times are crazy right now. The stock market is extremely volatile and we are still in a bear market, which at least shows some signs of recovery. Now no one can tell where the markets are headed next, but as I mentioned in my previous videos, it is important to try and cancel out the noise, follow your investment strategy and just continue to invest every single month through the highs and the lows. So this month I invested a total of 8,000 Rand, of which 6,500 Rand went into passively managed funds, 1,000 Rand went into actively managed funds and 500 Rand went into crypto, and I will break down each one of these categories in just a second. So let's start with my passively managed funds, which are invested in EasyEquities, Sygnia and Interactive Brokers. In my EasyEquities ZAR account, which I mainly use to invest into individual stocks listed on the JSE, I deposited and invested 1,000 Rand this month. The current value of my ZAR portfolio is 9,219 Rand with a profit of 445 Rand or 5.07%. I currently own 12 individual stocks, including African Rainbow Capital Investments, British American Tobacco, Capitec, MTN, Naspers, Prosus, Purple Group, Renogen, Sasol, Shoprite, Sygnia Stillwater and Transaction Capital. My best performing stock currently is Naspers with a profit of 28.1% and my worst performing stock is Sasol with a loss of 8.5%. Now I want to make this clear, I am still very new in the individual stock picking space. I highly doubt that I will be able to outperform a well-diversified ETF by trying to pick individual stocks, but I thought that this will be a nice addition to this series where I show you guys exactly how you could go about deciding on which companies to buy and how to value them. I am still very much a noob with this and haven't really yet learned how to do this properly myself yet, but I will share what I've learned with each update video and eventually make a separate video or series on how you can perform proper fundamental and technical analysis on stocks. So if this is something that you guys are interested in seeing, then just let me know down in the comments. Alright, so I added one stock this month called Tsogo Sun Hotels. And the reasoning behind this is seeing that we are kind of at the end of the pandemic now, hashtag touch wood, and the world is opening up again. I have a very strong conviction that the tourism industry, which has been badly hurt by the pandemic, will see a massive boom in the near future. It has already seen an impressive recovery, but seeing that we are still in the winter months in South Africa, I believe that the summertime will attract a huge influx of international tourists. So I looked at which companies are well positioned in the tourism space in South Africa and basically found 4 of them: Tsogo Sun Hotels, Tsogo Sun Gaming, City Lodge Hotels and Sun International. Now I didn't want to buy all 4 of them as I tried to keep my individual stocks as few as possible, otherwise it becomes a total nightmare to try and track. So I basically looked at the graph showing the past performance of all 4 stocks, and as you can see, the stock price of Tsogo Sun Hotels and Tsogo Sun Gaming has gradually improved, whilst the stock prices of City Lodge and Sun International has stayed fairly flat at the bottom. I also looked at the price to earnings ratio of all these 4 companies on MoneyWeb, and Tsogo Hotels had the lowest PE ratio of minus 43.9. So based on the fact that this stock is showing a recovery and that it is still massively undervalued, I decided to add Tsogo Hotels to my portfolio by investing 500 Rand into it. Now again, there are many other things to take into consideration apart from the past performance and the PE ratio, but this is good enough for me for now. I also invested another 250 Rand into both Renogen and Purple Group as the prices of both these stocks fell this month, so by buying more, I reduced my average purchase price. I didn't sell any stocks in my ZAR portfolio this month, but once I learn more on how to value companies properly, I might find a bad lemon or two that I might just throw out. Bruh. Okay, so moving on to my tax-free savings account, I deposited and invested 2,500 Rand this month, which brings my total tax-free savings account value to 33,345 Rand with a loss of 208 Rand or 0.61%. My tax-free savings account investment strategy is to split my allocation as 40% local equity using the Satrix Top 40 ETF, 40% offshore equity using the Core Shares Total World ETF, 10% local property using the Satrix Property ETF, and 10% offshore property using the Sygnia Global Property ETF. My allocation last month was 31% Core Shares Total World, 41% Satrix 40, 21% Satrix Property, and 7% Sygnia Global Property. So, in order to try and align my portfolio more towards my desired allocation, I basically just need to buy more Core Shares Total World and Sygnia Global Property, which is what I did. I invested 2,000 Rand into the Core Shares Total World ETF and 500 Rand into the Sygnia Global Property ETF, and therefore this brings my allocation to 35% Core Shares Total World, 38% Satrix 40, 19% Satrix Property, and 8% Sygnia Global Property. So as you can see, I'm not completely there yet, but my strategy is basically just to buy the funds that are lacking in exposure every single month in order to achieve the 40% local equity, 40% global equity, 10% local property, and 10% global property allocation. Then in my EasyProperties account, I deposited and invested 500 Rand this month, which brings my total portfolio value to 1,522 Rand with a profit of a whopping 4 Rand or 3.2%. I currently own two properties, the REIT and Capital on Bath, and then I bought another property called Black Brick Santon 2 for 501 Rand. I'm still relatively new to the EasyProperties platform, so my strategy at this stage is basically just to invest 500 Rand every single month into whatever property is available for that month. Once I have a couple of properties in my portfolio and I start earning some decent rental income, I may make a complete guide to investing with EasyProperties video where I will share some tips and strategies for those who are interested in entering the property market. But yeah, for now I am also still learning, so nothing really special here. Right, so then moving on to my EasyEquities USD account, I transferred 2,000 Rand, which equates to $123, which brought my current portfolio value to $3,292 with a profit of $9 or 0.27%. I currently own 8 individual stocks, including Google, Amazon, Apple, Berkshire Hathaway, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, and Twitter, as well as 2 ETFs, including the Vanguard S&P 500 and the Vanguard FTSE Emerging ETFs. Up until July, my best performing stock was Tesla with a profit of 33.8%, and my worst performing stock was Meta with a loss of 4.2%. So initially, when I started investing in my EasyEquities USD account, I just bought 2 ETFs in order to gain well-diversified offshore exposure in both the strong American market as well as the world's emerging markets. But recently, I decided that I want to use this specific account to pick individual US shares to try and beat the market. Again, I fully acknowledge the fact that I will probably fail, but for the purpose of this series on YouTube, I thought that it might make for an interesting challenge. I initially had over 30 individual stocks, but last month I sold most of them off in order to be left with only a handful of 8 well-established blue chip companies, of whom I believe will be successful in the long term. My strategy with this account is basically just to convert between 1,000 and 2,000 Rand into US dollars and then just buy even more shares in these 8 companies every single month. I'm not yet sure exactly what I want to do with the ETFs, but they are both still at a loss. So for now, I will just leave them as is. So this month I invested $20 into Google, $20 into Amazon, $20 into Twitter, and $62 into Meta. I based my decision this month mostly on the fact that the stock prices for these 4 companies were the lowest over the past year when compared to the rest of the stocks in my portfolio, and therefore by buying more of them, I reduce my average purchasing value. Now I might add another company or 2 to my US dollar portfolio, and I will specifically be looking at one that has good exposure to the crypto industry, as I personally believe that it will soon start to recover and hit another strong bull run. But that's just me. Then with my passive retirement annuity, which is invested in the Sygnia Skeleton Balanced 70 Fund, I deposited and invested 500 Rand this month, which brought my total current portfolio value to 27,269 Rand with a loss of 19 Rand or 0.07%. This investment seems to be recovering slowly, and my plan here is just to continue investing 500 Rand per month in order to try and keep the debit order going, and then making lump sum contribution whenever I have some extra money available. I also have some discretionary offshore investments with Interactive Brokers, where my current portfolio value stands at 1,688 US dollars with a loss of $256 or 14.1%. I only invested in 2 ETFs, VWRA, which is an Irish domiciled ETF that basically tracks the whole world's economy, and EIMI, which is also an Irish domiciled ETF, which tracks the emerging markets. Now I haven't added anything to this portfolio in over 6 months, and hence why the performance is rather poor, because I invested most of it right at the peak of December last year, which came down crashing, coinciding with the bear market that we are currently experiencing all over the world. The reason why I chose these Irish domiciled ETFs is basically for tax purposes, and I will make a detailed video on this topic once EasyEquities starts offering similar funds as well. But for now, I'm not really planning on buying or selling anything on this platform in the next couple of months, so I will just let it be and hopefully it will recover again. And of course, I also have some crypto investments. With easycrypto.co.za, I deposited 500 Rand this month and bought the EC10 token, which brought my current portfolio value to 6,220 Rand with a profit of 1,220 Rand or 24.4%. With Revix, I did not deposit any funds this month, so my current portfolio is 10,455 Rand with a loss of 823 Rand or 7.3%. My funds are split almost equally between the top 10 bundle from Revix and Bitcoin. With Luno, I also did not deposit any new funds, so my current crypto portfolio here is worth 2,750 Rand with a loss of 3,375 Rand or 55%, split equally between Bitcoin and Ethereum. My crypto investments are still suffering, but they are at least looking a lot better than last month, so perhaps we are getting out of this crypto winter? I don't know. What do you think? Alrighty, so this brings the total value of my passive investment portfolio at the end of July 2022 to 173,978 Rand or around about $10,400, which is split up between 68.9% broad market ETFs and unit trusts, 20% individual stocks, and 11.1% crypto. Now I would ideally prefer to have an allocation of 75% broad market funds, 20% individual stocks and 5% crypto, so it is clear that I am overweighted in crypto and therefore need to invest more in ETFs and unit trusts and less in crypto moving forward in order to accomplish my desired allocation. And then one investment I forgot to mention last time is a house that my siblings and I bought at the end of 2022 for my mother, in which I invested around about 225,000 Rand. The house is in the Durbanville area in Cape Town, which shows really promising growth, but there isn't really a way for me to tell how much the house is currently worth. But just to try and maintain complete transparency, I decided to just mention it in this video. I also forgot to mention in my previous video that I also have some investments in actively managed unit trust with PPS, which consists of a retirement annuity, a tax savings account, and an endowment. Now, I'm not really going to go into too much details on these investments, as I do not really think that they will add much real value to this series, as they are not investments that I am personally managing. But just to give you a quick overview, when I started earning my first salary back in January 2020, I did not know much about finances nor investing, so I decided to get a financial advisor to help set up my RA, tax savings account, and an endowment, to which I contributed most of my salary from 2020 and 2021. Now, as I started learning more and more about personal finances, I took the leap to start investing myself, and this is basically how my passively managed investment portfolio was born. So Peter, why haven't you transferred all of your actively managed investments into your passively managed ones? Well, it's mostly for two reasons. Firstly, I want to be able to track my performance using passive funds against the expert fund managers who claim that they can beat the market with actively managed funds, in order to basically create a real life case study example to see if the extra fees of actively managed funds are really justified. And secondly, in case I really screw things up and mark droog my investments, I will at least still have a portion being managed by the experts, so it is kind of another form of diversification away from the risks that I impose upon myself. So for now, I only add 500 Rand per month to both my actively managed RA and tax-free savings account in order to keep the debit orders going, but I will invest the vast majority of my money into my passive funds, as that is what I enjoy doing and how I can teach others to take charge of their own investment journeys. So yeah, that concludes my investment portfolio update for July 2022. As always, feel free to let me know down in the comments if you guys have any questions, and I will try my best to answer them as soon as possible. You must all have a lekker day. Cheers.